do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. It's Wednesday night, and this is the Journey Radio Show. Hey, we're the She Squatchers. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and I've got my trusty teammates on the line. I've got Tammy Trickle.
Hi, everybody.
I got Jenna Grover.
Well, howdy, howdy.
Hey, and we've got an awesome guest for you tonight. We've got Chad Datema joining us from the wonderful state of Michigan. He is coming to bring us lots of stories about his Bigfoot research. Let's see, I had him. How do I unmute him?
I don't know. Last time I had to hang up when you muted me.
Uh-oh. I muted him because he wasn't at his computer. Can you unmute yourself, Chad?
No, he cannot.
He cannot? You might have to hit the red call button and then just rejoin the call. Can you unmute him?
No.
Try.
Only you can do it. Let me see.
All right.
I can remove him from the call.
All right. So there, I removed him from the call. He can come back and join us. He can rejoin the call. So let's see here. Anyway, we were gone. We were on a trip, so we weren't here. We went to Washington State, girls. Do you want to tell them a little about our trip to Washington State?
We saw a bear. We got footage of us seeing a bear.
We did, and we were walking in the woods, and I was ahead of everybody on the trail because I was coming back earlier, and not that I was so quick, but we was coming back, and I kept hearing something walking in the woods, and it sounded big, and I'd stop and I'd look, and I couldn't see anything. I couldn't tell what it was, and then here they're coming up behind me, and so I was like, "Hey guys, shh, listen!" And Tammy comes running up, and she could hear it moving, and she's like, "Oh, that sounds big." And I'm like, "Yeah." So we're standing there together, we're trying to see what it was. And here comes everybody else up from behind us a ways. And Amy's like, "Oh my gosh, it's a bear." It was Amy Boo. She's like, "It's a bear." She had walked right out in front of us and turned over and looked. And there it was, but right in front of me and Tammy. And then it was beautiful.
Yes, and I was able to get an awesome picture. You have to tell them about that fabulous picture.
Yeah, well, I was videoing, so we got the video of the bear, but Jenna came up behind us and got Tammy and I with the bear in a picture. It was a good picture. Anyway,
and I got a close up of the bear, so yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was a little scared because, well, I'm not scared of bears normally, but they had just been saying about how much they have grizzly bears out there, and this was not a black colored bear. It was like a brown bear. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, is that a grizzly?" Because that was my first thought, because they kept saying grizzly bears. We have grizzly bears. And so when I saw a brown bear, I was like, "Oh my gosh, is that a grizzly?" But it wasn't. It was a cinnamon colored black bear. So we almost saw a grizzly. Anyway, we got Chad back with us. So welcome to the show, Chad. Yeah, I think you can talk now.
Am I allowed to talk now?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm here.
Allowed to talk.
Oh, yes. So Chad is from the state of Michigan. Chad, can you give us a little bit about your background in according to cryptid and Bigfoot research? Like, how did you get into this?
Well, let's say the encrypted, it got into me. It was not by choice, but Bigfoot was something that I sought out after like studying things, and then I recognized things that had happened in my early years when I was younger that I could explain that were just like, well, it's just nature. And I've met some great people. I've studied from some great people, and what I learned from them, I took and I taught myself. I taught myself how to go out in the field and how to discover areas where these things they may not be in at the time, but that they go through and that they use and when I go out, I don't always have great luck. I mean, I've got days out there with nothing, but I also have weekends out there that are just packed full of activity, whatever it may be, but things that get my interest. And I like being outdoors. And when you have a face-to-face encounter, 3 daylights, like I've had, and multiple night encounters with them right in my flashlight, and you know that they're real, I keep going back. Something draws me back to it. They've never like actually physically harmed me with their hands, but they have done some stuff to me with what I call EMF. People call zapping. They destroyed my campsites. And things like that, and like the normal animals in nature just don't do that. Things don't tear your tent down and wrap your tent poles around trees out in the middle of the woods. Raccoons don't do that. Bears don't do that. Something does that.
So tell us one of your most hair-raising experience. You like, what was the first one that got you hooked?
I didn't get well. Maybe it got me hooked, but my hair raising experience, I was in my early 20s, and I knew about Bigfoot, and I loved the $6 Million Man Bigfoot, and some of the older documentaries that had come out that I've watched. But I was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to go deer hunting with 2 friends of mine. We were in our early 20s, and I went off all by myself north to a swamp in Marquette, Michigan. It's a David Paulides hotspot right where I was for disappearances. And I come across this swamp, impenetrable. You can't get in it. You can't. The brush is so overgrown, you can't get in it. But then I find this like large opening, and I found it really weird. And I kind of walked in and I looked. I said, I'm going to sit behind this tree right here at this opening. And so I get all stationed. I sit there. I'm there for hours and just watching this opening, thinking something's going to either come around and come into it or come out of it. And I hear something walking up to me. And it didn't sound like a quadruped. It sounded like bipedal, like slowly steps. And so I'm locked onto this sound coming up to me. I'm thinking it's probably another hunter. And then the area that I had been staring at for a couple hours, all of a sudden I hear these like popping, like a loud tongue click. Like really, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but really loud, louder than I can do. And so now all of a sudden my attention turns right to that tongue click, and I'm thinking, what the heck? And I'm watching, and as I'm watching and looking at where I heard this come from, where I had heard the thing walking, all of a sudden I hear it like move a couple steps closer. And so then I turn and I lock onto that. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then as I'm locked onto that, and the tongue popping happened again. And I'm back, my attention's to that. And then I hear this thing move again. Now I start getting the panic. I got a 12-gauge shotgun with slugs and buckshot in it, okay? All of a sudden I have this overwhelming feeling of panic, and I just get up and I take off running, and I get back to the truck and I wait for my 2 friends to come back that were in totally different areas. Now people have said, oh, is your friends messing with you? Why would they mess with me and risk getting shot? And it wasn't them. I've asked them over and over. I don't know what it was. I can't say it was Bigfoot. I didn't see Bigfoot, but it was something that was really traumatic. It made me run out of the woods, and so that's the first thing. My second time was pretty traumatic too. If you want to hear about it.
We do.
Well, after I spent 8 years armchair researching and studying all the people in the Bigfoot world, I'm not going to name names. My mentor convinced me I just need to get out and I need to do it myself. And with everything that I learned, I used all this. I went out, I hooked up with a guy that was in Ohio, and we went out. And we went out for 5 days and 6 nights, I believe it is what it was. And we didn't take tents. We built a survival shelter. We were out there with machetes, chopping down saplings, building this thing. And this is what we slept in for this whole time. Now, it was the first night while we were building it, a major thunderstorm came in. And so we did actually leave the woods that first night. And as we're leaving, I keep telling him, something's following us. I can sense it. I can feel it. We're being followed. Something's following us. He's like, yeah, whatever. We get out, and we get up to this camper out on this property. And I turn around, and I look, and there's these two, like, amberish, yellowish, orangish colored eyes, big ones, staring at me. And I said, Richard, look at these eyes. And, he thought nothing of it. And I know what I saw, but nothing really happened that night. Now, the next day, we leave and we go out, and I walk around the property and stuff. I walk around this little property where the camper is, and then I come back. All of a sudden, this great big gigantic tree that's dead. We know what tree it was because we found it. We saw it when it fell and when it hit. All of a sudden, I hear it's crack, 3 times. Something pushed this dead tree right towards me, and it fell over and got caught in other trees. It was a very large tree. Richard heard it too. He came out of the camper and he's looking when he hears the noise. So I didn't see what it was. I saw the eyes the night before. I didn't see whatever did that. There was no wind. There was no storm. There was no reason for that tree to crack 3 times and then come falling over. So then we go into the woods, which we actually spent 4 nights in. Obviously, the night number 5 or maybe 6, I forget. And the storm came in. We spent it in the camper. We're in the woods, and there's really not much activity. But we're out there. We're finishing the survivor shelter. We're chopping down saplings. We're covering it, making it waterproof. Well, not really as waterproof as you possibly can. And but on the so there was really no activity other than we found like weird things hung in the trees around us. We did find that like a branch is broken like 12 feet up in the air. That they're live branches. There's no reason for them to be broken. We found like that kind of stuff all around our camp that we didn't notice when we were building it the first day. But the last day, which was like the 4th night, I believe, maybe the 5th night, he goes to bed and I stay up, and I'm just sitting out there having my cocktail, and all of a sudden these owls start going crazy, like really crazy. And I start hooting back, hoo hoo hoo, and we're going on, and it's coming multiple directions, and then all of a sudden they stop, and then I'm like, oh, it's late. I went to go to bed. I lay down in the survival shelter, and it's like just when I fall asleep, this scream that just penetrated my whole body. It's like, I can't explain it, man. It sounds like a woman dying, but with such a pitch, and you actually feel it. And I just come out of my sleep, and the scream goes on. I don't know how long it went on while I was asleep, but this goes on for like 3 seconds after I'm awake. I punch Richard right when I wake up. He wakes up. He hears it for about a second and a half, and then he all of a sudden panics and says, "The fire's out! The fire's out!" And he gets up and runs to the fire to start building the fire. And I freak out, and I go to pull my handgun out, which I had with me in the survival shelter. The minute I pull my handgun out, all of a sudden I get this like pulsating going through my whole body. I'm like paralyzed. I'm conscious. It wasn't painful or anything. I'm conscious, but I'm just paralyzed and I'm confused. And it's just this like pulsating going through my body to where I can't even move. And I'm like, Richard, something's wrong. I can't move. He's like, I got to get this fire going. He was like panicked. Why he was, I don't know. Maybe it was whatever they were doing to us that panicked him. And yeah, that was the most, honestly, Ohio was the most traumatic experience that's ever happened to me in my life.
You're on mute, Jenna.
Excuse me, I had to. Yeah, I was taking my sides. Was just gonna say thank you for telling me, Jen. Sorry, I was on mute, but I was gonna ask you, how did you learn to? You said you were building these survival, different techniques with the house, or that where you're staying and.
Well, Richard is a survivalist, and he knows every type of plant, everything you can eat. And actually, under Richard's instruction, was building this because, could I build a lean-to? Yeah, but he knew exactly what he was doing. He's a very, very intelligent man. His name's Richard Treemaster Moore on Facebook. So if you want to look him up, if you ever have a question about what's edible out there, he knows more than anybody's ever been able to tell me what you can eat, what you can do, how to build shelters.
Well, in here, that's the word I was trying to find in my head, shelter. That's why I was like, not going anywhere. But I was going to say, so he is here. I thought it was you. I thought you just knew all of this information and you were reading SAS guides and you just knew how to do all this stuff. So no, but did you learn a lot?
I can build a house. I absolutely. I use stuff that I learned from him still today out in the field. So, I've always been an outdoorsman, but I've never been like a survivalist type. I could survive now. 15 years ago, if I had to just go survive on my own out there, I couldn't. But today, I know enough.
I can ask another one here.
Yes.
Oh, shoot, is it time?
No, it's not time.
Okay, well, I'm on my phone, so again, I apologize. But I was wondering, do you have like certain people that you're going out with all the time? Like, do you work with a certain group, or are you just going out with certain people, like just every once in a while?
I have a select few that I associate with. I consider myself an independent researcher. I mean, there's been people I've been out with before that I no longer go out with. We've had, human nature had falling apart, and nothing against any of the people. But yeah, there's a select few people that I go out with, and I'm learning more and more. The people that I go out with, how they behave out in the field. Okay, what I don't like when people go out there and they just think they got to scream, hoot, and holler and try to call it Bigfoot, because to me, and this is just my opinion, to me, all you're doing is letting them know they're there. The whole idea, if you want to have interactions, is to not let the Bigfoot know that they're there. So you want to go out. I try to be more natural most of the time, and just act normal, act human, and just be aware of my surroundings. Now, I do dumb stuff, like when I find the things that I believe that they created and did, and I go mess with them. I know it's dumb, and a lot of people have told me, but I'm me, you know. Hey, we all have our faults, you know. I find a nice structure. I want to go play with the sticks too. Um, but yeah, I have a select few I go out with. Jason Kenzie. I've been becoming really good friends with him, and we've actually had him out a couple times. He was just recently out, and he's doing a documentary. He did the one of the UP when you girls were here at the conference that came up to the UP. And now he's doing another one where we had Robin Haynes McCrae. He's doing just a special on just her, but she's also part of the investigation for several days. And I'm looking forward to him coming out with that. He's getting better and better with everyone he does. And there's my good friend Ernest Fargo and Michelle Bice. They're people that I trust, and obviously they trust me. So we do things together. But I like to keep my groups small. I have no problem with a big camp out, going out searching the day with large numbers of people. But when it's time, in just in my opinion, when it's time to go out there and do the work, you don't need 6, 8 people. The smaller of the group that you are, the more likelihood you are to have interaction. Because these things can kill us in a heartbeat, and I know it. But they're intimidated by us and our intelligence. And when they know that we know they're there, I believe it intimidates them, and I believe it can stir them off. If you act dumb, they'll come in and they'll have fun with you, and they'll they'll mock you, throw things at you, or make noises, or come in and raid your cooler if they think that you're clueless. And I don't know. It's just my opinion. The more clueless you act, the better chance that they'll come right into your camp.
I think that when you're having fun and just not paying attention to what could be happening, sometimes that can just draw them in, their curiosity, of what's going on over here. What are these people doing? Why are they sounding like they're having a good time? That kind of thing. So, we're not really stealthy either. We're definitely not stealthy. Um, you can hear us coming 10 miles away practically, especially because Jenna sings all the time. And and she does. She admits it. I always have to remind her before the show, Jenna, no singing. No singing on the show. And she does pretty good. So, yeah. Anyway, but she lives in
I
a
would just like to
constant
interrupt
musical. Yeah.
and just say I have been very good. And to everyone out listening, you're welcome. I've been trying not to talk too much.
She actually is very entertaining. I will say this, that she was talking about Bigfoot to this little girl one day, and she went on spontaneously singing like a Disney cartoon about Bigfoot, like a Disney princess. And this little girl was just in awe. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I would have recorded that. That was incredible.
Yeah, and then she
Disney
said,
would be
"Sing
so
it
jealous.
again." I know, right? And then she's told me to sing it again, and all of a sudden I thought, I have no idea what I just said, what I just sang, but I guess it sounded great. And I did feel like a princess when I was singing it. So, hey.
There you go. There you go. So,
Mhm.
Chad, do you ever sing like a Disney princess trying to bring Bigfoot in?
I hoot like an owl, or I'll do morning dove calls. Okay, in my findings, in my belief from my times, I've spent a lot of time alone. They will mimic um, morning doves. They will mimic owls, especially owls at night. They will also mimic woodpeckers in the day, but it doesn't sound like a woodpecker. And I've had this in my prime location, um, where it sounds exactly like a rock tapping on a dead tree, and there's multiple there. So what I find is, like, I'll come in and they'll like tap 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 with a rock, and I'll know. I'm like, that's not a woodpecker, but I'll know because I've learned, and I'll keep walking. Then you get a little further up, and there's tap 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 tap, and what I believe they're doing is they're letting the rest of the family, because I totally firmly believe that the majority of them are in family groups unless one's been kicked out. Becomes a row. I believe they're fairly large family group, and what they're doing is they're alerting exactly where you are, and especially with me in my area, because they know that I know they're there. I mean, so they've done things to me there. Like I said, I tell you earlier, I've been hospitalized. They destroyed my campsite. It's hospitalized through EMF, is what I call it. Can I prove? People call it zapping, infrasound, call it whatever you want. I believe it's electromagnetic frequency.
Why don't you explain kind of what happened so they know what you're talking about? How it happened after the break, of course, because we only have a few minutes before the break. But
all right. Well, my good friend Ernie, my very first time going out and meeting him, and now we're like really good friends. I accused him of drugging me my very first time taking him to my spot because they did something to me to where I got so disoriented, so confused. I was falling on the ground. I couldn't walk in. And I started accusing Ernie that he drugged me. I thought he was going to kill me and stuff. And this just happened out of the blue, out of nowhere. One minute I'm fine, and I go to take him to the area where I know is their den nest area. And then the minute I start to go there, boom, I just get hit. I'm falling down. I'm confused. I don't even know where I am. And Ernie actually carried me out of the woods. He didn't know where he was going, but there was a weed whacker guy, a park guy out there weed whacking somewhere. So he just followed that sound of the weed whacker to get us back out there. And when he gets us back out there, I start yelling to the guy, help, help, he drugged me. This is no lie. My good friend Ernest Fargo was never going to go out with me again after the first time. But this really happened. I mean, I'm not making this up. This is my prime area where I know that they are, where I interact with them, where they built me a bench out in this area. Commercial break, right?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay. How much longer do I have to talk?
About 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. And okay, so that's some of the things they do. But there was one time I went out in this same area where I didn't know they were. I went out alone with my Great Dane. They in this area they don't like dogs. I think it's because I believe it's a birthing area that they use in the spring and the summer, and then they move out and they come back every spring and summer, and so they don't like dogs. Big dogs is a threat to their young. It's just a theory, okay? But they didn't like my campfire I built either. But next morning, a storm came in, so I vacated. And then I came back the next day after this. It was rained all day after, and I get this EMF thing again. This is what hospitalized me. As I'm walking back there, I thought I was having a stroke or heart attack or something. I didn't tell the doctors about Bigfoot because, come on, you don't want it going on your public record that you're crazy or something. But they said I had an anxiety attack. I don't have anxiety attacks. If you have anxiety attacks, you'll have them through your life. I just don't have them. Something happened to me to where I had to go to the hospital thinking I was having a stroke or heart attack. So I didn't even go get my camp tore down yet at the hospital. And then the next day I come back and my campsite is just destroyed. Every trees all around there broken, snapped. A firewall ripped out of it. An old Impala that's back in the woods, ripped out of it on top of my tent. Tent poles wrapped around a tree. People were like, oh, kids vandalized it. Okay, then why didn't they steal the $300 worth of equipment I had in there? Why didn't they steal my flashlights, my cameras, and all that stuff that was left in the tent? No, kids would have stole that. Somebody would have took that.
All right. Well, we'll probably just pause you right there as we're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes with Chad Datema. Stay tuned, everybody. Awesome. You're doing great, Chad.
All right, can I take a potty break?
You can.
Yeah.
Everything is still going on YouTube, so go off camera.
now they know.
Well, I'm not
going
going to go potty on camera. Jeez.
I'm just teasing ya.
But hurry up.
Take your time, but hurry
Chop,
up.
chop.
Oh, you guys,
There
I'm
you
so
go.
excited about Texas. I'm so excited about Texas.
Yay. Well,
All right.
we're gonna do so well, we can just talk about it a little bit right now, I guess. But we're going to go to Texas
Yeah.
in September, 9th and 10th. There's going to be an event there, and it's called the She Squatchers Texas Experience. Craig Woolheater, the event organizer, an awesome Bigfooter, has decided to do this event with us where he wants to rent this hotel at the Jefferson Motel in Jefferson, Texas. It's a very haunted historic place. And before we were into Bigfoot, we did paranormal investigations and things like that. And we're all psychic mediums. So this is something that's old hat to us. And I have just a ton of paranormal equipment. So we're going to head down to Texas, and people can come and join us there and stay the weekend with us, do a big slumber party and at the Jefferson Hotel, and we're going to do a paranormal investigation. So the first night we're going to do like a Bigfoot presentation, so you can see the things that we're doing with that, and then we're going to do a night of paranormal investigating the hotel with the people who are there, and then the second night we're going to do. I know they're going to do like a ghost walk tour thing, and then we're going to do our energy blast demonstration, which is going to just flood the whole place with energy that is organic from us. And so what people have experienced when they have seen me work with just one person, and I plan to do the three of us, so it's going to be bigger than before, but just with one person as doing, oh, welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Trudy Radio Show. And hey, we're the She Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at shesquatchers.com? And there you can click on our events page and see where we're going to be. And coming up at our events, we're going to be in Texas in September. We're going to be in Washington State in October. I think we're going to be in Wisconsin. It's not on our website yet. I think we're going to be in Wisconsin in November. And I'm not going to even say what we're doing in December because it's a big shh. But it's really exciting and you're going to love it.
It's huge.
So we're back. You can also find us on YouTube. Please come and subscribe to our channel at She Squatchers Official right there on YouTube. You want to do it. I know you do. And then we're on Facebook and Instagram. Come like and follow us there for all of what's up to date. Back to the show with Chad. Are you ready, Chad? Are you hooked back up, Chad? I don't know if he is. Are you ready?
I'm here.
Okay. Chad's back. Welcome back to the show. And you were saying about your visit. Where we were at? You had brought in Jason Kenzie.
Mm-hmm. I love him.
I do
We
too.
love him too.
Everybody loves him. How could you not?
He said I can use spoiler alerts.
I want to hear these spoiler alerts. Can you tell us all about it?
Well, you already know about my broken ribs and his 14 days that
Well,
he was here.
Our listeners don't know, so please tell us.
Okay. Well, guess the very night, like 12 hours before I'm supposed to pick up Kenzie, I slip off my bottom step because it rains and there's grass on it, and I break 5 ribs. I'm in the hospital for 2 weeks. He's here for 21 days or 21 days, I think. And I break 5 ribs, and they have to pump all these fluids out for 8 days because it's surrounding my heart and my other lung, and my lungs collapse. 3 of the 5 ribs punctured my lung. I'm titanium. I could get shot probably with a 22 in that backside. If it hits one of them ribs, I'm probably good. It's probably not going to go through. I'm full of hardware. I flew Jason in to do a documentary, and lined him up with some people, and we did it out at Michelle and Ernest Fargo, and Michelle Weiss's property out there in Waterloo, family property, and it was a great time. So I got to spend 6 days with Jason of the 21 days I flew him for. So. But spoiler alert, let's see. we had Robin Haynes McCrae, a beautiful, kind, wonderful person. She really is. I love her to death. She's on the more. I don't want.
Psychic spectrum.
Yeah, she is more on that spectrum than I am. And I can't say that she's wrong if she's telling me this stuff. I mean, I can't prove her wrong, even though that's not the spectrum I'm on. But she's wonderful and beautiful. One night we go out, okay, and we're going into this area, and all of a sudden she says, "Hey, there's this one, and he's over here. I'm not even saying the name that she said he was, and it's over here." And so we start going over there, and Jason got all this, so be on film. This thing taking off, you can hear it, and it doesn't sound like four-legged deer. A deer is going to run all the way through the woods. This thing just goes a few yards and crashes, and we're like all locked into it. Jason's filming, and all of a sudden he's like, I got eye shine. Well, Robin warns us that it's saying, hey, there's young ones over here. Please don't come over here. Robin's like, if they don't want you to go over there, there's young ones. Well, we pursued a little bit further after the eye shine, and then the thing took off again. But then Robin convinced us to please not go any further. They're telling her that there were young there. Spoiler alert. Okay, there you go. And it's way more detailed than that. That's just a quick synopsis of what happened. But it was exciting, and I'm a lifelong outdoorsman hunter. It was not a deer, in my opinion, running through the woods. And a deer wouldn't only go like 6-8 big crunches and stop and then wait. No, a deer's going to keep going.
I totally get what you're saying. You can tell the difference of different things moving through the woods and what they sound like. For a trained ear, you can tell that, oh, that's not a deer. You can tell what something is by how it's moving and the sounds that it's making. So you can rule some things out. But yeah, totally exciting. Totally exciting. So what did Jason do all that time that you were in the hospital? Was he just out there by himself?
No, I think he just slept a lot. No, I know there was other people out there in the beginning. I lined him up with like Dan Adralo. I think that's how you say his last name. He had Ernie and Michelle, and they catered to him very well. But what I want to say is this area is a very high activity area and multiple sightings. One of Ernie's good friends will not go out there anymore, especially at night. He had one encounter. I'll tell the encounter. He had one encounter where he went out there and he went out hunting in the day, and he's walking through this cut down cornfield, and he came up to a group of them that were chasing a deer, and he couldn't figure out what they were at first because they were like kind of far away as he's coming up. These things chasing a deer, and then all of a sudden one was closer to him and noticed him, and he I guess he felt it looking at him, and he turned and looked right at it. It was fairly close, and it gave him this look, and he took off, and he ran out of there. So a group chasing a deer, and then just last year, he went back there with his girlfriend way back in this private property. It's beautiful back there, by the way. And he's like racing along, and all of a sudden gets off the side of the trail a little bit and starts rutting in, and he locks up his brakes. And one jumps out of this and there's big giant trees out there, jumps right out of this tree right in front of him and takes off running. Okay, this is his account. I wasn't there. But 2 weeks after that, I was there at night, and I had one right in my flashlight. I was with Dave Dominique, right in the flashlight, peeking out of a tree back and forth a couple times. I'm like, Dave, there's one there. and we had owl hoots, and I was hooting with owls. There's like unnormal amount of owl hoots. Like there was 10 owls out there. I was hooting, they were hooting, and then this thing, it just I stepped right out, and I've got both of its eyes now, and Dave's looking at it too, but I don't see its body. I think it's because I'm looking at its eyes, but it looks at us for a second, and then when it turns its body and its eyes away, I can see the whole silhouette of its upright body, and it takes off running. And I turn and look at Dave. I'm like, Dave, let's go, let's go, let's go. He was like frozen for a second. He's like, okay. I wasn't running by myself. So we chased this thing about 50 yards, and then it hitting this swamp that we couldn't, there was no way we weren't getting through it. And we get to this swamp. So now there's nowhere for us to go. And I'm shining light, shining light, shining light. And all of a sudden it looks at us again. And it looks at us just for a second, turns, and then just walks. Doesn't even run away because it knows that we can't get in there. To let you know, their eyes will reflect goldish yellow, reddish gold, or red. That's what they'll reflect. Okay, so most animals will reflect green. Okay, Bigfoot does not. Their eyes do not reflect green. So if you get something in your light that's green, it's most likely a deer, and which is the most common animal you're going to find reflecting back at you. The colors with a Bigfoot reflection are different than other animals. They run from red to gold, and in between, amberish red colors, the orangish colors is what they'll reflect back as. And this is what I've experienced. I'm not an expert.
Well, that's really exciting stuff. I really enjoy I love that. I love that. I would love to go out to their place and explore that sometime. That's for sure. I wish Michigan was closer.
Oh, this whole December thing that I heard about, it's got to be Florida. You're going to Florida.
Think so?
Where else were you going to go in the dead of winter?
Might be Florida. You might be onto something there. Yeah. Shh. I don't know if we're supposed to be quiet about it or not. I didn't ask. So I'm veering on the side of caution with that. So I'm just being quiet about it right now. But we're very excited.
Yes. No matter where we go, we always have a good time, and everybody we meet, they're so fabulous and they're so wonderful and they're so kind. I mean, these are strangers and they're wonderful. And there's so many people that come up to us and say, "Oh, we see you on YouTube." And it's like, "Oh, that's so nice." So it's really cool to be recognized, for something that entails Bigfoot, and working together. Everybody's kind of working together to say, "Hey, let's find this," I don't know. I love our events, and I love you guys out there. So thank you very much for coming to our events, and come to them more.
Yes.
They're
big
not
heart.
strangers. They're just friends we don't know yet.
That's
There
right.
you go. I like
That's
that.
right.
There's the heart.
There's
There
the
is
big
a
heart.
question in the chat room. Sherry had asked, what if you dug a survival trench and then put a tarp over it to simulate the ground? Do you think that Bigfoot will sense you?
You're not going in the woods without them knowing. Okay,
Yeah.
the rare chance that you sneak up on one, which is so rare that they make this mistake, they know you're there far before you get there, and they will observe you from a distance. You can go spend a week in the woods and not even know they're there, and they'll be watching you from 100 yards away. If they want you to know they're there, they let you know they're there. And this is, again, just my opinion from what I've experienced.
And I would agree with that. That woods is their home. And if, just like I have a home, if somebody walks into my home, even if I'm in the other room, I'm going to hear that. I'm going to know that somebody else is in here. That's a sound that shouldn't be made right now. So,
And you'll feel it.
yeah. So I agree. They're very attuned. I think that their senses are stronger than ours as far as sensing what's going on in the woods.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if we had to use our hearing for survival and for hunting, we would have much better hearing than we do.
And
But
bigger
we don't.
ears.
And bigger ears.
Yes.
And they would still go like this. They say that our muscles that are attached to the ears, that's why some people can still wiggle their ears. But we used to be able to move them like a cat. We used to be able to move them a little bit when we were lower on the food chain.
Shayla's trying to move her
had
ears.
Jenna,
I
can
had
you
to
move your
try.
ears?
I tried. It's like I don't know which muscle to move, so I'm
I think it's like your jaw muscle.
Try
right
it.
I wish
here.
everybody could see this.
try
They
it.
will see
Seriously.
it.
Try to move your ears. Really, try it.
I can't wiggle my
Gosh.
ears. My brother can, but I can't.
Really? Your
Yeah.
brother? Can you do it, Chad?
I have
No.
headphones on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he doesn't even
No,
want to try.
I couldn't.
Come
No.
on, Chad.
All right, fine. They don't wiggle, okay? All my eyebrows move.
Everyone out
Oh.
there listening, if you can wiggle your ears, I want to know without your fingers, without using
Without
your
touching.
limbs or something else.
Assistance.
Video
yes.
proof,
And
too. We want video
yes.
proof.
I want to see
Please send
this.
video proof. Yeah, because I want to. Yeah, it's not happening.
Jason Kenzie's next
She looks
documentary.
like she's having a Tourette
Ear
tick over here.
wigglers.
I gotta quit doing that. Now I'm gonna. If you ever see me doing this while somebody's talking,
Yeah,
then you know what I'm thinking.
for real.
Oh Lord.
Oh, Sherry in
It's
the
like,
chat room. She says she can wiggle her ears a little bit.
ooh, what
Hey.
buttons to use? What do
Good job, girl.
you need to know?
We
All
want
right.
proof.
We want proof.
I can move my
Do you think-
nose.
Do you think Bigfoot can move his ears around more like a cat?
I bet. Listen,
Yeah.
we're desensitized, okay? Evolution is real. We've evolved to what we are. Our senses are nothing like what we were back in the more prehistoric times, okay? Our sense of smell is dissipated, our sense of hearing. The only thing that's probably improved is our sense of vision, but we've probably lost night vision, which we probably used to have better. This, again, some of this is scientific and some of it is just theory, but yes, loss of perceptions have happened over thousands of years. We just bred out of it.
We don't have the need for it anymore because we've got so high on the food chain. Nothing's really hunting us anymore. We're just the top. And that's just the way that it goes. But
Jen, even to the point of a sense of perception, okay, sense of knowing. Like I'm really good at feeling when I'm being watched and things like that, and some people aren't. Back thousands of years ago, everybody was able to. If somebody they were being stared at, they would know. It's a survival instinct. You would know. You would feel it. But there's no reason to now. But few people have that nowadays. I'm going to tell you the truth. If I've been out hunting and had a little bird staring at me, and I'm sitting there just still, and all of a sudden I can sense this little bird looking at me, and I look, and there's a bird sitting 2 feet away that I didn't even know flew in because it came in so quiet, just staring at me. I have been in the woods and all of a sudden felt like I'm being looked at, turned around and looked right at a hole in a tree with a mouse sticking its head out looking at me. Okay, that's perception. It's something that's real, and some people have more perception to that than others.
There's science behind that, Chad. There really is, because I know that science says the brain thinks at 400 billion bytes per second. That's what it's actually doing. But the average human is only consciously aware of 2,000 bytes per second out of 400 billion that you're actually thinking about. So that's things that you're sensing, feeling, hearing, seeing, that you're not physically consciously aware that you're seeing these things, but you are in your subconscious mind. You are aware of those things there. So it's almost nothing. We are consciously aware of almost nothing of the things that we're actually sensing. So that's where we get our gut feelings. Sometimes we get a feeling about something. That's where that's coming from. It's a real sense. It's just coming through. We're getting a little taste of it. And that's where that comes from. So when people talk about psychics and, ooh, it's so magical and really there's a science behind it. We just learn how to focus in more on those other things and look to see what else is there and access more of that information that everybody is already sensing also. We just learn how to access that a little bit more. It's a science. It's not that crazy woo-ha stuff. So the more I look into science and how to back it up, the more I can find it.
Well, and they say that that's why when you wake up in the middle of the night for no reason, it's because you sense something looking at you. So, whether it's a spirit or what, that's why you wake up, because when we were more basic animals, you needed that instinct to know if something was trying to hunt you when you were asleep. So it makes sense that that would still be in effect.
Well, I
Now
can
you
attest to
say
that.
that. Can I just
Yeah.
Well, can I just mention something? Okay, so one night I was, well, obviously sleeping. It was in the middle of the night. But anyway, I all of a sudden came out of a full sleep and I went like this to block myself because there was somebody trying to jump in me. And I literally and it was so automatic. I had no control over it. It was perception. So and it was incredible. It was scary, but it was incredible.
And I can say for sure, because it just happened, I think, last night. I was fast asleep. I had taken my sleeping pills. I was fast asleep. And all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, what? What? And I grabbed my phone and somebody had just sent me a message asking for some advice. And it was like, as soon as they sent it, I woke up. And I was like, what? And that happens all the time. For all those of you who like to message me in the middle of the night, waking me up. And my phone doesn't even make sound. So it's
Sherry
okay.
asked, what about spiders on your face while you're sleeping? Yeah, that would wake me up too.
Ask Sherry if she
Oh.
knows how many spider sheets in her lifetime
No,
she's asleep.
no, I don't want to know.
No, we don't want to. Okay, she's just saying that because she knows I'm deathly afraid of spiders. I have a fear.
You've eaten some. I promise you, Jen. In your sleep, they'll go.
They
drink your
deserved it.
saliva.
They deserved
They
it.
deserved it. I much
I was
so
like,
say
get the prawn in my mouth.
stink spiders.
Okay, well,
Right? Crawl in my mouth. You're done.
we're talking about perception. Okay,
Yes.
I want to tell you a true story. The second my dad died, and he was in Florida and I was in Michigan, the second he died, I knew. And the second he died, I got panicked and I called, and my stepmom, his wife, answered the phone, said, Chad, I'm on the phone with your brother. And she's out of panic. I'll call you right back. Hung up. And my heart's just pounding. I knew the second my dad died. She didn't call me back. My brother called me back and said, Dad's dead. Okay? Listen, the ambulance wasn't even to the house, and I knew because I've talked to my stepmom. So this is perception. This is something I can't control, and I'm glad that this doesn't happen to me constantly all day, because it can be a curse. But there's times that I just know stuff I should know. There's times I know things that are going to happen right before they happen, and they do happen. There's times I know exactly what somebody's going to say before they say it. It's not every time. It's nothing I can control. That's why I call myself semi-clairvoyant. But it happens. It happens. I've had people be stuck for a word in their head, and all of a sudden the word pops in my head, and sometimes I say it out, sometimes I don't. When I do or when I don't, it's the word that just pops in my head out of nowhere. Like, it's not a voice; it's just a knowing thought. And I believe people that say mind speak, they don't hear a voice. I believe they just get a thought, a knowing thought, like the things that have happened to me in my life. I wish a Bigfoot would mind speak to me. I wish I could be out there and say Bigfoot mind speaks to me. That's never happened. Have I felt them around? Have I felt them angry at me? And I've also felt them scared of me. Yeah, I felt that sensation. Sorry.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about. We're all sensitive like that too. And, things come through different ways at different times. And yeah, it doesn't necessarily always come through as like English talking when you get information. Sometimes it's in just a knowing or a feeling and sometimes a picture, in your mind.
We don't get to
So,
pick how we receive the messages. We just are the receivers.
yeah, it just comes through however it comes through. And
And
when it wants to.
sometimes it is. Oh, I'm sorry, Jen. I must be lagging. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I
But
was just gonna say it comes through when it wants to come through or when it needs to come through. So it's not like on all the time, but it does happen sometimes when it's inconvenient. So go ahead, Jenna.
now I forgot. Just forget it. No, I'm just kidding. I really did forget. So maybe it'll pop back in.
Okay. Sorry. Get back on your brainwave, Jenna.
I fell off and I'm
Okay.
having a hard time getting back on. So
It's all right. It's all right. It happens to me all the time. What did I come in the kitchen for? Can't remember. Probably something I
Yes.
didn't want to put in my mouth for real.
Mm.
So
where are my glasses, on top of my head or in front on me?
or how about this when
Or
I
my
call
glasses?
Jenna and say, I can't find my phone. just
Yeah.
can't
Will
find
you
it.
call my phone?
Or when you use the flashlight on your phone to try to find your phone.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Hey,
Yeah,
it's not just us. I know it can't be just us.
how about when you lose a lid and you're looking all over for it, looking all over, and it's in your hand?
Or
Anybody ever done
it's
that?
right there, like literally right there where you
You're
look
like
from the
holding it. No, you're looking for it. Where did I put that lid? I gotta. And you're walking
Yeah.
around, you're looking for it, and it's in your hand.
And you feel like
Yep.
such a dork after it happens. You're like, oh my gosh, is this real age or do I have a problem?
You only
Do I have to
feel
go
like
talk to the
you only
doctor?
feel like a dork when you tell other people about it.
Oh, but that's the funnest part. I always tell people my awful stories, my embarrassing stories. These guys can attest to that. But I love it because you know why they laugh? Because it's happened to them. And that's all I have to say about that.
And sometimes we laugh because we're there, and it's funny.
You know, I love you, my pretties. Okay, you guys are all awesome.
Aw.
Meeting you in person, picking up Tammy from the airport, getting a hug from her,
Yeah,
and then
she
getting a
got some
hug from
sweet.
Jen and Jenna. It was awesome. I mean, I was so happy when I got to meet you guys last year.
Aw, thank
It
you.
was fun. We had a really great time getting to know all of you guys and exploring with you and having those wonderful adventures with you.
Yes.
Yeah, we love Michigan. Wish it wasn't so far away.
Yeah, you're in Minnesota. Stop.
It's like a 16-hour drive.
I'm in Virginia. It's like a 7-hour flight.
But I'll pick you up from the airport. You know
All
that.
right.
I would just like to say you did give Tammy some special treatment. Like you held up signs for her and
No, that wasn't
no,
him. That was
wasn't
somewhere
me.
else.
No,
Oh,
that
that
was
Tennessee.
oh nothing.
that
Forget
wasn't
it.
me.
But
No.
he did pick me up in his truck and take me to Walmart so I could go get some
Aw.
food
Oh,
and some bread.
it's worse than that. Listen, I couldn't, and I used to be a Lyft and Uber driver, and she's telling me where she is, and I'm driving around, and I'm like, I can't find you, and she was on this like top deck, and I'd been driving around like literally for 15 minutes, calling her back and forth, but then I finally found her.
Yay,
Oh,
Tammy was
Yeah, I look a
found.
whole lot different without all this makeup on.
We all
Oh
look
no,
different,
I'll
don't
let you
we?
know.
Like,
She looked like she had just woken up, man. She definitely looks different when she's all fixed up, and yeah, I think like she had just had a nap on the airplane or something.
I'm sure I did.
Yes. Well, we're coming
oh,
to the
that's
end of the
nice sympathy.
show. So I just want to thank Chad for coming on. And I think, is it Facebook that you can be found if anybody actually wants to find you?
Look up my name, Chad Datema, on
Okay.
Facebook.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Chad, for coming on. We'll probably have you on another time. And we'll thank you all for tuning in. Good night, everyone.
Good night.